I'll show you the basic principle for the 3 cozy buddies. Let's start with a blank file in Kaleido Paint and choose your pen color and thickness and set up symmetry group P3. You can see turning the grid on and off. It's kind of hard to see the markings, how they show 3 different rotation points, but they do. Follow along if you can. Draw a line from any of the rotation points to any other one. Then you need to start from that last rotation point and link it to anywhere on the line. I'm being deliberate here because I'm trying to reproduce what probably took me much longer to achieve a few years back. I did do much tweaking back then, but for the demo here, we'll do it quickly. You add a few internal lines to define your idea. Did you notice that double tap for the nose fill? As long as your shape is completely closed, the fill will spread where you want it. A few more lines, and you're starting to see the character. Nose, ear, tail, paws. Modifying the pen thickness to get bigger paw pads. And the eye, another simple dot. A few more steps to tweak the drawing, clean up and add some color to the tessellation. I call it keep it simple. It's a dog's philosophy. In order to make the tessellations more viewer-friendly, it has become the practice among tessellation artists to recolor the tiles. In this case, 3 different directions for the characters would require 3 different color schemes. You can either recolor a square tile, which you can export from Kaleido Paint from the bottom right menu, or take a full image and recolor each instance, your choice. 6. Here's another example of the 3 cozy buddies symmetry group. My inspiration for the whirling dervish drawing was the sculpture by Chuki Derwish. I asked him if I could replicate his drawing. At first I thought it was done in the previous symmetry group we studied, P31M, a 3-way rotation in the middle of a triangle of identical mirrors. He's standing viewed straight on with both arms extended out. But on closer inspection, I saw that the character was not exactly symmetrical down the middle. The head is tilted to one side. The whirling skirt's bottom hem is waving wider on one side. Here's a series of lines taken from the whirling dervish drawing. The process is not always pretty. But this series of stills can show part of the process to arrive at a tessellation. In this case, it was before the app developer introduced the possibility of editing lines with those nodes I showed you in the previous class. The final drawings had a much more sketchy feel to them. And no eraser. I would draw wider white lines over top of something if I needed to erase. The drawing has movement and spontaneity. If you prefer to draw this way, go for it. It does have a certain attractive style to it rather than the rigid outlines similar to drawing in Illustrator. Slide 8. The rotation points are difficult to see in the mess of lines, so I reduced the sketch to just 2 lines for you to see, to understand. The first line, the black one, connects the top of the hat to one of the extended arms, which is also from that same sleeve down to the whirling skirt, to his foot. The second line, green, the other sleeve, up the arm and towards the face and hat, which is also down his flank to his shoes when the line is rotated. A good example to stress there are always two purposes to every line. Both sides of the line are important. Whenever you tweak your line, keep track of what happens on both sides. If I forget to pay attention, I usually have to use the undo key a few times. This is the final version of the whirling dervish tessellation, recolored in the classical style of 3 directions, therefore 3 colors. I had to try my hand at this one, at replicating it in Kaleido Paint. It is M.C. Escher's drawing number 21. Some call it the imp, a European mythological creature, but he looks like normal to me. Some call it the running man. It's always a learning experience when we copy the masters. I had about 7 or 8 false starts in order to get the proportions right and placement of all the intertwined limbs nested perfectly. We can pause here to see the first line that joins 2 of the 3 rotation points. And here's the second line in yellow that joins that last rotation point to anywhere on the first line, from his right heel to his left elbow. I'm learning quite a bit too by redoing the master's artwork. It confirms to me that the magic sentences that I use do indeed render the methods in a concise manner and remain true even for M.C. Escher's drawings. 13. If you add color to your drawing in Kaleido Paint using a double tap, all the instances are treated the same. Here, all the bonnets are red, vests are all yellow, etc. Identical tiles. The software does not have the capacity to do everything for you. For a final print, when I change the shades for the characters arranged in those 3 different directions, I use either Pixelmator on the iPad or Photoshop on my desktop PC. Sometimes I will export only the outlines of my drawing, no fill color anywhere. I'll select areas individually for recoloring. There's always more than one way to do things. I'm simply showing you one of my methods. Here, I recolored each of the 3 directions in a different scheme in Pixelmator on my iPad. Pixelmator or Photoshop can also be used to extract a single character from your tessellation, a handy trick for those people viewing the artwork when they cannot see or easily understand. It's not the easiest thing to do, to take the time to really look at a tessellation. This is a different treatment and solution. The original aloof tessellation was a very hairy affair. Okay as a digital print, but not easy to reproduce with screen printing. This simplified version of aloof is in 3 shades of pink, showing the 3 rotations, with a revelation on how far you can push your lines around a rotation point. That bright blue line connects one rotation point to another, with a long spiral around one of the points, repeated by Kaleido Paint on the whole surface. Can you spot where that second line needs to be to close the shape? From that 3rd rotation point to anywhere on your first line, a short and sweet line to close off the front paw. Short line, yes, but it still follows the rule. Link with 1 line 2 of the rotation points, Then link the third rotation point to anywhere on the first line. Martha Harvey has used tessellations in her stamping art. Many beautiful patterns using symmetry systems like this one, where the little fish are rotated 3 times around their tails, 3 times around their belly fin, and 3 times around their dorsal fin. I urge you to check out her Instagram account to see more P3 symmetry examples. She shares many tips on how to accomplish this stamping technique. Henk has mastered a style reminiscent of steel point engraving from the 1820s. The best place to see his tessellations is on his Instagram page. Mermaid Meerjungfrau is absolutely gorgeous. A tessellation by Seth Barais of tuxedo-clad men bowing to one another. Two lines delineated the complete design outline, same as the other tessellations in this series. It's not easy to decipher the geometric tessellations by Ed Rooney. It took me a while, but the rule of 2 lines does apply from one of the 3-way rotation points to another. Then the last line connects the 3rd rotation point to anywhere on the first line. Everybody's got a different style. Here, Tessful leaves a bit more negative space between her nested shapes. Nice cats. A last example. This one is not exactly easy to decipher without seeing a single extract of the character. Imagine him slipping on the floor and trying all his might not to drop that tablet. It's easier if I show you the outline in Kaleido Paint. Here's the simple outline of the contortionist. The red line links 2 of the 3-way rotation points, and the black line links the 3rd 3-way rotation to anywhere on the first line. That's it. Well, not quite. You still have to insert the inside details and tweak your lines. The contortionist, as it was originally completed in Kaleido Paint. Okay, so I've given you quite a few good examples of the 3 cozy buddies that we've taken apart line by line, point by point, to understand the how to create in this symmetry group. In the next section, I will show you MC Escher's famous reptiles recreated in an animation using Kaleido Paint. Any of these tessellations, either from MC Escher or myself or other artists that have given me permission to show their work, you may use to practice and learn to create tessellations, but remember that the copyright remains the property of the artist, always. You may not use it to profit in any way. I just had to say this somewhere in the classes. In any case, you should eventually develop your own artistic style, and by default, you will retain your own copyright for your own artwork. Cheers.